Welcome to another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we bring you stories of people who have faced adversity, have overcome their challenges, and have come back stronger. Yes, and I'm here with my law partner, Dana Brooks. My name is Jimmy Fasig, and we are going to introduce you today to Mikaya Warren. She is an absolutely fascinating individual, a born fighter who was born with alopecia and sickle cell anemia, and so she ended up struggling with that her whole life. But you want to talk about somebody that has turned a negative into a positive. What do you think about Mikaya?
I love her because she's fearless.
Oh yeah.
I love that. That's my, when I tell young women and girls who come to me for motivation, I said, I want you to be fearless. That doesn't mean fear-free. No one is fear-free, but you can be fearless. And that's what she is, because she took on people who knew more than she did about the industry she was trying to break into. She didn't know, and she took a bold move. I can't wait for you to find out what she did. And people told her, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. She did it.
I'm going to give you a little taste. I want to give you a little taste of what's to come. She had alopecia, which means that she had thin hair, hair loss. And so she was very obviously self-conscious about this, but she ended up going on to America's Next Top Model, and she ended up getting on the show and completely bald. So this is fascinating, from right here in Tallahassee, Florida. Incredible story. It's so exciting. So we're going to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to introduce you to Mikaya Warren.
Can't wait.
This is a difficult job, and the late nights are easier when you have the passion behind you about what you're doing it for. When you know that person needs you, it's easy to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure you're ready and prepared for the next day, right? Whatever it takes to win.
When you're creating a law firm, you want to have people on your team that have experience on the other side. And that can make the critical difference between winning and losing a case. And the number one value that drives our law firm is compassion.
That's right.
So that's why when I hear you say that when you're a defense attorney, it hurts your heart to have to defend a case that you knew was a legitimate case, that makes me feel very good about the fact that you've come onto our team.
And our number two value is a passion for justice. And you staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning working hard for the clients is certainly evidence of that.
That's passion for justice.
Go into trial, taking it all the way.
Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we are introducing you to Mikaya Warren, a born fighter who has overcome some serious challenges and done some amazing things. Can't wait for you to meet her right now.
Mikaya, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course, my pleasure.
I have known you for years and years and years, and you've done my makeup before, and it's just going to be such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yes.
So let's start with what life was like as a kid. You were diagnosed with alopecia when you were a kid. Can you tell our audience what alopecia is and what that diagnosis was like for you?
Yes, so alopecia is a hair loss disorder. It's an autoimmune disorder where your white blood cells attack your hair follicles and you have no control over it. It's nothing you can do to prevent it. I believe there is some kind of a cure out there now, but I'm too far in. But yes, I was diagnosed with alopecia, I believe at age 11. But before that, at age 2, I was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia. So it's kind of been like a
double whammy.
So I woke up one morning with half a head of hair, and within 2 days, it was all gone.
Wow, within 2 days.
2 days.
And that's tough for a little girl. I mean, just being an adolescent girl is hard enough as it is, especially with sickle cell.
Yes.
Which, can you explain what that caused for you when you were a kid? Did you have a lot of pain associated with it?
So, my sickle cell is a little bit different, my sickle cell story. So I was diagnosed at 2. I had a crisis then, and my mom shared with me that I had, was kind of in and out of pain crisis as a little kid. But by the time I got to, maybe 8 or 9, I hadn't had a crisis. So age 10, crisis started to come back. And then alopecia happened. So it was kind of like a whirlwind of a year.
And when you say crisis, you mean like pain crisis?
Pain crisis,
Yeah.
yes. So sickle cell is a blood disorder, where your sickle or your blood cells are shaped like sickles. And they get, jammed together, causing pain, loss of oxygen, just kind of all kind of side effects that go along with that.
Yeah.
But yes, a crisis is a pain crisis. Probably the worst pain ever in life. They compare it to giving birth.
It's so hard when you're a kid too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that whole span of 2 years for me was like, yeah.
Yeah, and then your hormones are changing when you're a girl
Correct.
and you're that age.
Yep, you're just now getting into liking boys and trying to find your circle of friends.
So how was that with no hair? I mean, did you wear wigs when you were a little girl? Like, tell me about what you went through.
It was difficult to say the least, because I was always a very prissy girl, like always.
Girly
My
girl.
always. I loved styling my hair. I loved doing my nails. Loved planning makeup. And so when that happened, I kind of lost, the drive to do any of that. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't want to, any longer dibble and dabble in makeup. So like all the little girl things that you would imagine a prissy girl loving to do was all of a sudden stripped from me. And so
Especially because you wanted to be a model when you were a little girl.
Correct.
And then for that to happen, you're probably thinking that your dream is out the door.
Right. I was even told it was out the door, and I was like, ugh. So
And you lose your eyebrows and your eyelashes too, don't you?
everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Everything. So
Did you get made fun of a lot, like by boys in school or girls?
Absolutely.
Or,
absolutely. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. But my mom, she started to see that decline in, self-confidence, self-esteem, and even just, she could notice that a piece of me was just gone. And so she began to kind of nurse that back. And back then, I tell this story all the time, I really thought that she was patronizing me. And she would make me look into the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, and say all these,
Your
affirmations.
right.
And I was like, Mom, why are you making me do this? Because I felt genuinely ugly. I was like, this is torture.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, from a child's perspective, of course it feels like torture, especially when you actually believe that you're ugly. But she would make me say those affirmations in the mirror, and I didn't know it then, but it makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
That seed was planted, and
Oh, affirmations work for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
I've got a teenage son, and I was just telling him yesterday, he's an athlete, and I was telling him, you have to do affirmations. It seems silly, you feel dumb.
Yeah.
I know you hate me for making you do them, but it really does help. What you tell yourself in your mind neurologically changes the way that you think about yourself.
Yes,
That's what research
changes
shows.
actions, it changes thoughts, everything.
So then how did you feel after that? Did you start feeling better? And
No, not immediately.
No.
It wasn't until, so that was about 11. It wasn't until I was almost 22 years old that I started to believe that and started feeling comfortable without hair. So I went through those years. Still, I got up the courage to go back into modeling. Never really gave it up, just kind of lost my confidence. My mom didn't let me give it up. And so I entered a modeling competition. So those were big back in the day.
Yeah, of course.
And so we went to Hilton Head, South Carolina. That's where the modeling competition was. And up until then, I was wearing a wig, and there was a runway portion of the competition. And I told my mom, like right before I went downstairs to get on stage, I was like, I think I'm going to do it without hair. And she was like, Mikaya, please don't do that.
Oh, she said
she
that,
was
yeah.
trying to save me the embarrassment.
What year was this?
Oh, girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was maybe like 14, 15.
Because now there's all these different types of models who look different from what you would typically expect from like the 90s models, the Cindy Crawfords. Now they take models
It's
that
popular.
look so different.
Yeah.
Right. Where
Yeah.
they have different skin pigmentation issues or different, you know, they
diversity
unique features.
is definitely a
Right.
thing now.
Right. But it wasn't back then.
Not at all.
You know, they wanted you
Not
to look
at
like
all.
Naomi Campbell.
Correct.
Right? Or Cindy Crawford or
Correct.
the big ones.
And see, my hair was like, you know, the football player Troy Polamalu?
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
hair. It was long. It was
Yeah.
wavy. People used to ask my mom, was I like Hawaiian or something?
Aw.
She was like, no.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So you're at the modeling thing in South Carolina.
you know, did the modeling competition. I got on stage
With
without my wig.
Uh-huh.
I won first place. My model coach at the time was like,
awesome.
did you really just do this? My mom, my dad, everybody was shocked, but it proved that I could do it.
It's very cutting
And
edge.
I needed to, I think I needed, like internally, I needed that affirmation, like that, like, okay,
Yeah.
I can, you know, I can keep going.
That you're beautiful in your skin.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So even still, though, after that, I still was not comfortable without a wig. Like, it was like cool to get the celebration and the praise then, but coming back home and being around, you know, school friends and things of that nature, I was like, we'll
Put your
this
wig back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to go to a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about everything you're doing now and the foundations you've started and the business you started.
Let me just go on record as saying Bald is beautiful, and she is absolutely gorgeous.
But you know what? I remember whenever you decided
Yeah.
go
Just let
full
it go.
Monty.
Let it
yes,
go.
Yeah, it was about 15 years ago, and I
Yeah.
remember you were talking to your beautiful wife Jeanette about it, and y'all were thinking about it, and you just go, we were going to a photo shoot, so one of the first ones we did, and he goes, I did it. I just did it. And you've never looked back, and everybody loves you for it. You're a trendsetter, because now everybody does it.
Nothing to
you
it
can't,
but to
you can't
do it.
imagine how many times I go up in airports and places thinking it's you, and it's not you. Everybody's doing it now. You're going to have to make something original about it now.
Well, I
But
love
no, what
the fact,
confidence you both have.
I love the fact that Mikaya is now, she's just
out
bald.
there. I
She's
love
just
it.
she's
I love
just
it.
doing it.
But you know what? Seriously, for a minute, this woman's got a lot on her plate.
Yeah.
Sickle cell, that's don't play with that. People think that's something of the past. Used to hear about it several years
Yeah.
ago. But ironically enough, Carrie Roan, who was interviewing Mikaya, she and I tried one of our first cases against each other. I had a sickle cell case. It was a sickle cell crisis case. And that is something that's very serious, and it's
Yeah.
very easily treatable if it's recognized and treated timely. It's a very painful disease. You need pain medicine, fluids, that sort of thing, oxygen. Very treatable if recognized, but sadly a lot of people don't. And a lot of people think that disease is not around anymore. It is, and it is something you have to deal with and suffer with lifelong, and these crises can occur just living your life. So this woman has a lot on her plate. She's got an autoimmune disorder she's fighting, but she just said, you know what, this doesn't define me. So many of the people on this show say that very thing. This isn't my story. This isn't all of me.
Well, what she says is
Yeah.
that it made her a fighter.
It did.
And that's the thing about the pain and the struggles and the challenges that we go through is it makes us stronger,
Yeah.
and it makes us more capable and competent and confident
Yeah.
in tackling other challenges.
But think about the women and young girls she's leading by her example
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to go to another break, but when we come back, we're going to show you the second part of the interview with Mikaya. Excellent service, 100 times more responsive than other attorneys I've worked with. Highly recommend, especially attorney Kimmy Hogan. She is fabulous.
Yes, she is.
It's all about communication. The number one complaint about lawyers is my lawyer never calls me back. But the number two complaint is my lawyer never calls me and tells me what's happening with my case. That's why I love reading a review like this, because I know, Kimmy, you are really good about calling your clients, letting them know what's happening with the case, keeping them informed every step of the way. Because what you got to remember is that these clients, this is their first case a lot of times. They've never been through this before. They don't know what to expect. Am I doing the right thing? Am I getting the right medical treatment? Am I actually going to get a settlement at the end of the case? So they need that reassurance, and they need to know what the process is every step along the way. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we are introducing you to Mikaya Warren, who's a born fighter, was born suffering from alopecia, sickle cell anemia, and she has developed this inner strength, and she's lost her hair, but she is completely bald, and she is a model. She's absolutely gorgeous. She owns it, and so she's going to tell you the second part of her story right now.
Thank you so much for telling us that part of your story. The first question that comes to mind is, when did you get comfortable without wearing wigs?
Yeah, so it wasn't until my adult age, around the age of 20, 21-ish, I had found the love of my life. I didn't know it then, but we were dating for some years. We had our first kid. And so I was kind of revamping my modeling portfolio, trying to get back into it seriously. And I was just kind of struggling with, what was going to be my look, now that, I look different, but the world was not completely accepting of a bald-headed woman. And so, of course, America's Next Top Model was coming to Tallahassee. So I was like, I gotta do this, but I needed new pictures. So kind of going back and forth with whether to wear a wig, whether, to go for it. And I was interested in a photographer. I reached out to him. Of course, my family and my husband was like, totally do it without a wig. You look amazing.
That's awesome.
But it doesn't really set until, you don't move on things until you actually believe it for yourself.
You've got to feel comfortable.
Yeah,
right.
You've got to feel comfortable. And just because everybody around you thinks that, it hadn't set in for me. But anyway, I was inquiring about a certain photographer, and I asked him, what his thoughts were on whether I should wear the wig or not. And he was like, well, send me a picture of you without a wig. I was like, heck no, I'm not doing that. What do you mean? So I'm still kind of uncomfortable. So I, grit my teeth and I sent it, and he was like, this is absolutely dope. And my husband was like, see, I told you. And so I decided to do the photo shoot without the wig. Entered into America's Next Top Model. I think Takara from Top Model came to Tallahassee. I met her, and she was the one. I'm standing in line, and she comes up to me, and she was like, oh my gosh, you are gorgeous. Don't ever let go of this look. And she started asking me, was this on purpose, things of that nature. So I got all of that affirmation from the photographer, my family, husband, friends. And so it wasn't until, they approved me to go to round 2 of Top Model that I was like, okay. I kind of got that feeling again from the competition before. Like, I can do this. And so that just kind of sealed the deal for me. And I haven't worn a wig since then.
And it's been how many years?
Tell my age.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's been quite a few years, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of parlayed that into a foundation that you started called Bald is Beautiful, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I started, being more comfortable without the wigs. And I mean, everywhere I went, there were girls and their moms that would run up to me in public like, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. My daughter has alopecia and, she's been afraid to do this and this. I mean, everywhere I went, it was almost insane. And so I was like, well, there seems to be a community of girls and women who are suffering from this. And at the time, I wasn't paying attention to it. But I realized that there was a community of women and girls who needed the support, to just be, or to deal with society in general. Right. Society can be cruel. And so I formed the organization My Bald is Beautiful to just provide support to women and girls who were suffering from hair loss, whether it's from cancer, alopecia, other hair loss disorders. And it took a life of its own. And I became so enthused by just empowering others, just kind of sharing my light and my courage, which wasn't always there. And I think that's important to know that, it wasn't always this big, bold, courageous Mikaya. Like that was a journey for me.
Sure.
So, just sharing my story, sharing the support, the encouragement, the empowerment with other women and girls, that took a life of its own into what I'm doing now, even beyond the foundation. So,
Where can people find Bald is Beautiful if they want to go online, if they want to find your support? How can they do that?
So the organization is actually no longer active, but I still do the same thing, because I'm a makeup artist. I'm all into women's empowerment. I'm still sharing that same story, the same light with women all over the world, because the bottom line is we all have differences. We all have something about us that, we want to hide or that we're not comfortable with. And it's up to us to find that person, that Takara, that photographer that, just affirms us and say, hey, it's okay. Like, you rock. This is great. And, carry that empowerment and that encouragement.
It's your support system.
Absolutely.
Lean on your family, lean on your friends for support when you need it. So you mentioned you're a makeup artist. So how can people find you? And that's how I know you, through makeup artistry. And I think you do great work. And I thought you were gorgeous from the first moment I saw you. I was intimidated by you. It made me so nervous. Where can people find you as a makeup artist? And are you doing that full time? Are you doing other things?
Yes, so I do. I am a professional makeup artist, full time, licensed esthetician. So I've kind of incorporated all things beauty into what I do, because that's what I love. That's what I'm passionate about. I always have been. But my website, www.mikayadion.com, you can find all things me. All things me there. There's a blog there where I share, beauty tips, but also, empowerment and lifestyle tips, because I'm a whole mom out here in these streets. That's where you can find me.
And one of the things that you're doing that I love is your coaching.
Yes.
So I forgot to mention earlier that you've walked the runways. You've walked New York Fashion Week. You've walked, I think, the Italian Fashion Week, maybe in Milan.
So it was actually an Italian designer that came here to Tallahassee. His name was Nino Lettieri. And that was an amazing experience. Marsha Dahl, actually, she was my coach. She's the one that has coached me to this whole supermodel life. So all credit goes to her.
I love Marsha. And one of the things that you do that Marsha also does is you coach girls.
Yes.
And it's not just about, you can do walk the catwalk, take glamorous modeling photos, but you're coaching them on how to speak in public.
Yes.
Or how to handle situations. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we've got to go?
So one of the other ways that I have, always expressed myself is through fashion. I love, love, love fashion. And that just comes from, the model in me. But I also understand that when women look good, we feel good.
That's right.
And so that's one thing that I wanted to, branch out and share. So a lot of professionals who don't know how to put themselves together, but they have to be put together. I coach a lot of them, how to style themselves, put together a wardrobe, but also how to present themselves in front of a camera or at an interview or just introducing yourself. A lot of women just, don't naturally have that confidence or those skills. And it's okay. It's okay to get help with that. I'm here for you.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Absolutely love the work that I do, because I see women go from, in a shell to completely comfortable with who they are. And sharing their light with others. So
that's fantastic.
Absolutely love it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind mentioning your website one more time so everybody can find you.
www.mikayadion.com.
Thank you so much, Mikaya. It was lovely.
Thank you.
Isn't she wonderful?
She is so cool. And you know what I love about it is we're talking about somebody, this is fascinating, because so many of us walk around with self-conscious about what makes us different.
Right.
When a lot of times it's actually what is so awesome about us. So she's walking around almost her entire childhood and self-conscious about being bald, when it actually turns out that is a defining feature that makes her more awesome. So it's
think
crazy.
about it. When you're a child, when you're growing up, the worst thing would be to not fit in.
Yeah.
You want to get along, you want to wear what they're wearing, you want to say what they're saying, you want all those kind of experiences. And then you get a little bit older, and then you realize, well, I'm sick of me, and other people like me, and I want something interesting to turn me on. I want to get passionate about something.
Yeah.
And then that's when I think most people, really grow into who they actually are as a person.
Yeah.
When you separate from the pack and you do what Mikaya did, and you walk into what is unique about you, then you give it power, and then nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
But whenever you are, comparing yourself and pitting yourself against other people that you consider as an ideal because of your limited thinking, you haven't given yourself permission to think of another ideal, you're trapping yourself. It's just a prison you put yourself in. So walk out, walk into the light, walk into what you're doing.
Yes.
And if you are wearing no hair, wear it.
Wear it. Own it. That's
I
right.
love that.
Be unapologetically, authentically you. That's the whole key, is authenticity.
Yeah.
And people really appreciate that, and they gravitate to that.
Yeah.
I've noticed that in my own life, so that's really cool.
And is there anything more attractive in another person than confidence?
Confidence.
Not
That's
cockiness.
right.
Those
Right.
are two very different things.
Yes.
Confidence. Someone
Yeah.
who really just, and I've seen it in people who are not the best physical specimens in terms of, eye candy and what you want to see. But these people have a plum.
Yeah.
They just walk with purpose. They believe 100% they're entitled to be where they are and entitled to be heard and make a contribution. They do it. And I just love them. I love to be in their energy and in their orbit.
Just
I love people like
Mikaya.
her.
That's right. So we're going to go to another commercial break, but we have a lot more to talk about, so stay tuned.
When you look at it, insurance, they work on algorithms. It's all a numbers game. At the end of the day, it's our job to make sure they understand that this is a change in circumstance. Something was stolen from somebody else. And at the end of the day, with our clients, the majority of the time, they did nothing wrong, and they had to go through that. And that's the point. It's very important to make insurance companies understand our clients are not just numbers on a wall or some algorithm of an adjusted premium. That's not what this is. This is a life, right? That is substantially changed. And it's very important that they understand that.
Life comes down to a series of moments. Some moments are joyful, others are painful. But when somebody comes along and through their negligence takes away some of those joyful moments and replaces them with painful moments, then they've taken away something of value, something that our clients are never going to be able to get back. Our job is to make sure that they get fully compensated for that. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we just heard the two-part interview of Mikaya Warren, who is an incredible woman who had suffered alopecia, sickle cell anemia, and had become completely bald, and ended up making a huge mark in the fashion and beauty industry as a model. Dana, what was your biggest takeaway?
Her bravery.
Oh, yeah.
I used to say, or people used to say that a woman's hair is her crown. It's everybody's crown. Nobody likes to lose their hair. I've actually experienced this, and it scared the heck out of me, because I always thought to myself, if my health depended on it, I would get rid of my hair, I'd get rid of my breath, I'd get rid of all these things. I want to live. Until it happens to you, you don't really understand what it is like and what it affects your identity. And I applaud her bravery and her just courage to just say, this is the new me, nothing wrong with the old me. The new me's going to be even better. I'm coming back stronger. I love her.
The courage to embrace herself and be comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Everybody, we should all be more like Mikaya.
Let's do it.
Come back next week, because we're going to introduce you to somebody else who has come back stronger.
See you then. Traffic cameras are everywhere, providing valuable evidence if you've been in an accident.
But if you can't access the visual evidence, it could just be your word against theirs.
Our firm has partnered with RoadProof to have access to all their traffic camera footage.
Let Fasig Brooks search our network of traffic cameras to find your video evidence today.
If you've been hurt in an accident, give us a call and we'll find out if the proof you need is out there.
Let us find your video evidence so you can come back